Welcome to today's podcast. This is Ron Ovitt, I'm your host. I'd like to talk today about safety first. You know, for about 17 years, I've been teaching a course on emotional resilience. It's a 50-week course. If you're interested in that, you can go to our YouTube channel under Ron Ovitt. That's O-V-I-T-T. And I have all 50 programs there, classes there. You have to go to the playlist and look for emotional resilience. But in the last decade, there's been a strong movement, and even longer than that, but we've been emphasizing trauma and what trauma does to the body, to the emotions, about childhood trauma, and something that's become more prevalent even lately through the work of Stephen Porges and Peter Levine, some of the somatic people that work with the body and that, is the fact that we need to feel safe. And so today I want to talk about safety first, okay? Safety is a complex concept to grasp sometimes. We may think we feel safe. We're worrying about things, and so therefore we're calming ourselves down a little bit, but yet we're worried. That's not safe, right? Worry is, in fact, propagating the thought that we're unsafe. And so safety is central to our whole sense of well-being. Being safe is one of the most substantial needs as children. And childhood trauma prevents them from feeling safe, and it causes all kinds of havoc on the development of a child in their attachment with their caregivers. One of the key jobs of our brain, you see, is to keep us safe. I mean, that's what the brain does. It runs our body, all the systems that go on. You're breathing right now without even paying attention. The brain does that. The brain regulates our blood flow, all kinds of things, right? And it does that behind the scenes as well. It's constantly on guard, looking for things that could be dangerous. And we have a negativity bias. It's a good thing to have that. I mean, you're walking through the woods. It's not the wildflowers that are so beautiful they're going to hurt you, unless it's one of those ravenous poison kind. It's usually the animals, right, or snakes or something like that, roots on the ground that you trip over, cliffs that you don't see. Those are the things that are going to hurt you. And so the brain constantly scans for those things. Well, it does that with us, too. The things that we've triggered somehow in our brain, that we've put in our brain that is unsafe, we'll constantly be unaware for that. And so, it could be a tone of voice, a look of a face, proximity of someone, specific kinds of touches, their smells, whatever is associated with what we interpreted as unsafe, especially when we were young and we didn't have an adult interpretation of the situation. If it was unpleasant or dangerous, it then became primed in the brain. It set up a predictive coding, so it could sense those things outside of our awareness, if you will. They're called implicit memories, and they'll trigger us, and we may not even know exactly why we're being triggered, why all of a sudden we want to fight, flight, or freeze, right? But it's because of that predictive coding. And now, if that danger is continuous, severe enough, it can set up then a state of hypervigilance. I know when I was a child, I had a lot of fears, phobias, and I was hypervigilant. And even in my adulthood, I would walk around like there was a predator in the room. I'd walk into a room. It wasn't so much social anxiety as I was aware that something was wrong. What am I going to do the right thing? What are people thinking? That hypervigilance. And it's like we're always on guard. Well, unfortunately, unless dealt with, that sense of hypervigilance can grow. The brain can take what we thought was what it thinks is dangerous and sometimes expand that to where, like for example, in chemical sensitivity, you may be highly sensitive to a certain smell, but after a while it could incorporate other smells and then other smells, and it becomes over exaggerated, and yet you're responding as if every one of those were the original cue. So our brain can become more hyper vigilant than it should be, and that can cause a lot of problems. And so we need to deal with it. The good news is we're not helpless toddlers today. We're not helpless toddlers. We're adults, and we can look at things. Often in class I'll have a person, I'll call witness person up and I'll have them sit in a chair. And then I'll stand up and I'll say, do you mind if I yell at you? And of course they know I'm not meaning any harm, but I'll kind of raise my voice, have a stern look, and I'll talk down to them, right? I said, could you feel that? And they go, yeah. Well, then I'll grab a chair and I'll stand on the chair. Now the difference between where they're sitting and where my head is like this. Then I'll yell. And it's amazing how even the audience grasps the fact that this is more like a child and an adult now. And it takes on a whole different meaning. And then what's humorous, especially if I pick a big person, I'll say, stand up. I did this a couple weeks ago at my anxiety seminar, and the guy was like 6'4". And so I stand up, and he looked like a football player, and I'm going, okay. And everyone, of course, was laughing. But that's how we should look at the things that scared us, right? We have choices today. We're an adult. We can do things about it. And so we want to look through those kinds of eyes. Now, this kind of danger or stress sends a danger signal, and it can manifest in many ways. We don't always think about in terms of danger, but still it sets off the alarm. For example, my boss is mad at me. I feel unsafe. The prices of food have gone up. Well, if I tie that into the financial situation I'm in, that could feel unsafe. Going to meet with a group of strangers on the way there, I could feel unsafe. I made a mistake. Depending who that mistake was with, I could feel unsafe. I have an urgent deadline. If I haven't stayed on it and I've been procrastinating, I could feel unsafe. Or I'm running late to an appointment. I could feel unsafe. Now, there's different degrees of that. But the point is the alarm is the alarm. And if it triggers the alarm, it doesn't really matter the intensity of the danger so much. Our body is reacting. Now, ultimately it matters, of course, but our brain is reacting. Our heart rate is increased, and we're all anxious and we're hypervigilant, okay? The trouble, in a sense, is with our alarm system. If we look at the system, the situation logically, we see, like I said, different degrees of safety. What we feel, is catastrophic might just be an annoyance, right? The brain is reacting, we're all up in here, but yet it might just be an annoyance. And we need to figure that out. It's important. The old saying, if you can name it, you can tame it. And if we can see that it's not catastrophic, it's just an annoyance, we call that a reappraisal. If we can stop long enough, hold on, bring it down, reappraise, we can a lot of times reappraise these things and put them in the right category of danger, if you will, that they belong. And so we can change some of the ways we react. Now, unfortunately, like I said, the brain works differently. When the emotional part of the brain senses danger, it often acts immediately. It hijacks the brain, not allowing time for the logical part of our brain to the prefrontal cortex to really come online. So off we go, feeling unsafe, almost as if we're going to die. And that's what an alarm does. And the good news is with training, we can recognize when we're feeling triggered and learn to maintain a safe posture. And that's what this today's podcast is about. We can start to retrain ourselves. We can learn to feel safe amidst our stress. And that's going to create then the brain to react in a different way. We want to maintain a safe posture, even if we think something might be a little bit unsafe. I learned that from working with pain, chronic pain. One of the methods to use the brain to help with pain, because pain is a danger signal, is to feel the pain, be with the pain, but at the same time feel safe. Feel safe. It may be sore, it's there, but you're feeling safe. And the brain then starts recalculating. It starts recalculating. And so stress, you see, is our enemy. Stress, in a sense, is our enemy. It wreaks havoc on the body, our emotions. It's hard to relax and feel safe when we're in a constant state of stress. But what is stress? Well, when we think of stress, we usually think of our circumstances. And indeed, finances, pressures on the job or at school, relationships, all these can affect us. Then there's that inner emotional stress as well that we've been talking about, a hypervigilance. I'm walking into the room, there's nothing yet, making me feel unsafe. I have approached the room feeling unsafe. So there's that emotional stress, you might say, about safety, the inner thoughts, the cravings, emotions, whatever it is that create an inner stress. And it's just as potent as the outside circumstances, right? And then there's the third type, and that's the body stress. Research has shown that unhealthy diet, lack of exercise, poor sleep, various addictions, they create stress on our bodies. That is just as detrimental as any other form of stress. And so there's these different kinds of stresses that can play with us and make us feel unsafe. Now, relaxation is one way to handle this, and I have all kinds of lessons. You can go on my YouTube channel, go through the emotional resilience, and you'll see what I call mind skills. And one of the mind skills is relaxing. But there's a difference. Relaxing is about the body, and we can try to relax and yet not completely feel safe. Safety is more about the mind, right? And so if we don't work with the mind and the feeling of safety, relaxation will only be a coping mechanism. We will continue to regulate our emotions, but not get to the root. We need to address safety, but the feeling of safety can be elusive. What is it exactly? What does it feel like? So let us consider safety. Let's look at emotional recognition, the feeling of safety. Recognize emotional signs of feeling unsafe. If we can start recognizing when we're feeling unsafe, then we can work toward the opposite, right? And that is feeling safe. So we start with recognition. When we feel unsafe, we are affected in different emotional ways. Look at some of the symptoms that you can experience often, right? This could be a sign that you're feeling unsafe. Are you feeling irritated, panicked, angry, right? Fearful? That could be a sign, obviously, that you're feeling unsafe. Are you having trouble concentrating? You're looking at that could be a feeling that you're feeling unsafe. Are you feeling like you're actually crying? That could have a safety issue. Are you hypervigilance or have an increased awareness? Here again, recognize this. You're feeling unsafe. Are you having difficulty sleeping or poor sleep quality? What are you thinking about? It could be a feeling of unsafety. Do you walk around with brain fog? The brain's constantly just in a fog and you can't focus and concentrate. It could be that you're feeling unsafe. Is there a feeling of hopelessness or immobilization? That could be a sign that you're feeling unsafe. When you have these things, you need to work on them so we can then let it be a cue that, I need to stop and feel safe. Now, those were some of the emotional things about unsafety. What are some of the physical? Let's recognize the physical symptoms of feeling unsafe. Now, when we feel unsafe, we're affected in different physical ways. And so if we're going to recognize it, not just emotionally how we feel, let's look at some of the physical. And they overlap, but let's look at them. An increased heart rate, shallow or rapid breathing, unusual sweating, a tightness or pain in the chest, feeling nauseous, having dry mouth, feeling disconnected and alone, shortness of breath, feeling shaky, right? Chest tightness or pain. And it might be hard to separate this from emotionally feeling that way because they tie in so together. But this is another way of looking maybe at some of the same stuff. You can recognize it emotionally or you can recognize it physically. Either way, you want to become conscious that for some reason I'm feeling unsafe. And here's the good news, you may not be unsafe at all. It's just something that's triggered you, and so we want to work on that. And then another aspect is some of the behavioral symptoms of feeling unsafe. And here again, there's fine lines between them, but it's another way, of looking at the diamond, right? The different facets. We're looking at unsafe from all the angles. When we feel unsafe, we're affected in different behavioral ways, okay? And so, again, you can check off some of these. Are you fixated on the situation? Are you constantly checking and rechecking the situation? Are you trying to control the outcome? You're over worried about it, right? That could be a sign. Are you avoiding the outcome by avoiding the situation? Are you bracing yourself? You're all up in here bracing yourself for a negative consequence. These are some of the things you can ask. You may pick it up emotionally or physically, like bracing yourself is a physical thing, but then you need to ask the cognitive question. Am I bracing myself for a negative outcome? And then difficult being present in your body. There's almost a slight dissociation, right? And so here again, you could say that's emotional, but it's still physical, right? Isolating yourself. That could be a sign that, hey, I'm not looking at what's bothering me here. I'm just isolating. That could be a sign that you feel unsafe. Being irritable, complaining, or acting out of anger. All those could be. And I know that ties into the emotional, but these are physical actions as well. And so that could be a cue. Numbing out through addictive behaviors, right? If you're constantly every night you have to come home, you need to, smoke a joint or drink your alcohol or do whatever it is, watch porn, whatever it is, eat a bunch of sweets, anything to numb out, to get out, to escape. What are you escaping? What are you escaping? That could be something that you need to work on. Why are you feeling unsafe? And then, tendency to engage in maladaptive daydreaming or fantasy just to block out the feelings. And so those are some of the things. It's important to note that these systems vary from person to person, and not everyone will experience, of course, all these signs that we've been talking about. But what are the ones that you experience? Write them down. Become conscious of it so you can learn to feel safe. That's how you're going to retrain the brain. Knowing that you're doing it's one thing. Not beating yourself up over it, now you're feeling unsafe again, right? This isn't unsafe, it's about being aware of it and then feeling safe. And it retrains the brain. So what are some of the things that we can do to feel safe? Well, to feel safe, you can employ several strategies that engage both the mind and the body. Number one, you can feel safe without having outcome expectations. It was sort of what I was talking about in pain. You're going to try to feel safe, not so you will be safe. You're just going to feel safe and let happen what happens. The brain will take it. It's like learning to ride a bike, right? You got to balance. And remember how hard it was? But, you sit there until you don't grunt and groan that you'll never do it. You kind of let the body, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you're balanced. And the brain will do that. And that's the same thing here. We want to feel safe without forcing ourselves to feel safe. Can you imagine how unsafe you'll feel, right? And so you feel safe in spite of the symptoms. Feeling safe is unsafe is an emotion. The root word is to move, right? Emotion means to move. And so we feel emotions in our bodies. So when you sense one of the cues that you checked off earlier, you can start to track it in your body. You want to recognize where in your body you're feeling tense, uneasy, painful, itchy, or any other feeling. You want to observe it without expectations. And so you experience it. Okay, I'm feeling tense in the chest. And likewise, whether it's an increased heart rate, shallow or rapid breathing, unusual sweating, you just want to recognize it. You recognize it. Having a dry mouth, feeling nauseous, all that, right? Feeling disconnected and alone, experiencing shortness of breath, feeling shaky. All those are the different symptoms we were talking about. You simply want to notice these symptoms in your body. You're not trying to change anything. Just observe. Befriend it, right? Befriend it. It's just a sensation. Where is it? What size is it? What does it feel like? What level of intensity is it? Use words like hard, soft, warm, hot, cool, cold, sharp, dull, smooth, bumpy, tight, loose, heavy, light, empty, full, tingling, numb, dense, burning, aching, pulsing, vibrating, twitching. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do. And I'd be happy to send you the notes on today's program if you email me, ron@empowerministry.org. That's ron@empowerministry.org, and I'll be happy to send you the notes. And, so we need to become aware and then just let it be and just observe. Here again, we want to do this without any outcome expectation. We're not trying to feel safe. We're just, we're not trying to force it. We're not trying to make the symptoms go away. We just want to feel safe, okay? We just want to see what it likes to feel safe. The only goal here is feeling safe. Reducing symptoms is not what we're trying to achieve. That causes stress and increases the symptoms. Instead, feel safe with the symptoms going on. And so we want to look at that. And so when it happens, we can kind of tell our brain something like this. Hello, brain. I know that you have detected danger and are alarmed. This is because of learned neuronal pathways and not real danger. You are erring on the side of caution because you're trying to protect me. I appreciate that you are there for me, but it's okay to relax. I am mature now and can de-stress. Together, we can relearn that I'm safe. Now, I'm not talking about like if you're in the middle of the street and a car's coming at you, guess what? You are unsafe, okay? You don't want to sit there and pretend you're not. I'm talking about something that, you're all up here and yet there's no immediate danger. You're thinking about things that could happen, maybe a distance from now, but you need to relax, okay? Because you can't get the prefrontal cortex online, the rational part of our brain, if we're all emotional. We can't do both. And so we want to learn to relax instead of feeling all uptight. And so that's why we can say, okay, I thank you, brain, right? Thank you, brain, that you're trying to protect me. But, I don't really feel unsafe right now. There's nothing here. I appreciate it. I just want to relax now. And so you go ahead and you work on that. Now, next time we get together, I want to go ahead and go over some exercises you can do. So in the next podcast, we'll go over some exercises that you can do to feel safe. And this is going to help us work on feeling safe. Okay, so I'll see you in the next episode. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. Number 2, join our Patreon partners. These are people that contribute a modest fee each month to help with the cost of producing our podcast. And then 3rd, tell others, share it with others. And if you would like to learn about other teachings, check out our other playlists on Ron Ovitt YouTube channel. And so I want to thank you for joining us. We're excited about what we're doing. And if you have any ideas that you would like to see covered, go ahead and comment or email me at ron@empowerministry.org. That's ron@empowerministry.org.